Oh, hey, Chuck Martin, CGM3 Productions, and this is where I really like to do these type of reviews. It's absolutely amazing. You know, I've been blessed so far this season, and been an amazing concert season. Now, don't get me wrong, it happens. First of all, again, I have to thank a mutual friend of mine who works at a radio station in the Hudson Valley. Okay. Um, It was absolutely amazing. I just can't it just seems like it's magical. It just brought a real big smile from your ear. If you go on my other social networking pages, I did something with a couple concerts. First of all, it was Lindsey Sterling. Lindsey did an absolutely magical job. Oh, by the way, where are they playing? Right in my backyard, or not too far from here. And shout out to Glenn and the amazing crew over there over at Bethel Woods Performing Arts Center. And it's just a magical place, holy ground for music. It's definitely peace, love, and music. Totally amazing. And obviously, Bethel Woods celebrating 20 years, from 2006 to 2026. And it's like, where have I been the last? Well, 20 years ago, keep this in mind, I was in Sacramento, California. Okay. And okay, brief history very quickly. I was there in '98 for the 30th for the Day in the Garden. Obviously, the celebration of the 30th anniversary of Woodstock. Now everything kind of changed a little bit at Bethel Woods, so it's still going to be considered Woodstock to me. So obviously, a scene the week before was Lindsey Sterling, an amazing concert indeed. And again, I still remember, I think I remember, if you recall, I did mention a few, you know, um, songs, and then, the critics beforehand. She's an outright superstar. You have to check her out, check her following on different social media pages. She is definitely, an artist to be taken care of. She's taken it seriously above and beyond. And then doing the covers of like Kashmir to um, some of these other amazing pieces, including the the battle of the strings between the guitar and the violin, and just seeing her perform "Devil Went Down to Georgia," which is phenomenal, completely amazing. Now, if you go on my other, like I said, my other social media page, you'll see that concert and kind of see. In fact, she did a remix. Actually, she did a tribute to the EDM music to Sandstorm. Totally mind blowing experience with it. So now, catching up to date. Obviously, Wednesday was my doctor's appointment, but I was really looking forward to this show, and it was all year round because they gotten excited. I heard about the concert schedule coming up for the summer. Now, one of the concerts that um, was completely amazing. Actually, there's going to be three of them. Uh, it was definitely Toto with Christopher Cross and the Pretenders. Not Pretenders. Sorry, my bad. Romantics. It's Chemo Brain. Please excuse me for that. It's Chemo Brain. Okay. Then sometime in September, it's going to be Steve Winwood and John Cafferty. Now, John Cafferty's a legend already. He's been with Creedence Clearwater Revival. That's going to be an amazing show in itself. And then obviously September 25th, which was definitely another add-on, which completely like shocked the heck out of me. Um, Ringo Starr and the All Star Band, which is Beatlemania and his presence and his solo career. Which is obviously, if you haven't checked out the new Paul McCartney album. Check it out. There's a they did a duet, and I'm telling you that duet is totally amazing. So I'm looking for that in September. But let's back it up a little bit from this past Wednesday. Wednesday, obviously, we had the kind of like the weather, you know, and thank goodness it held it perfectly because Wednesday night it did kick off. It was an amazing show indeed, and it was completely amazing. Toto, Christopher Cross, and the Romantics. And I got a shout out to and a big thank you to Nina. Glad you went. I'm glad you had an experience of a lifetime. Definitely was. Definitely for us kids, as Generation X kids, that we and obviously this week with obviously it's a huge music week because on Monday was the anniversary for Live Aid on July 13th. Well, Wednesday was definitely an anniversary close to home, 40 years of, actually a little bit over 40 years to be exact, to be honest, with three amazing, bands. Everybody got a little older, but their play was on target. And I got to tell you something. It was absolutely, they brought out all the wares, they brought out all the hits, and how how it flowed. It was wonderful. So the first act that came up was definitely the Romantics. Okay, and just an amazing, amazing time. Everybody fine tuned their with it, and it was the show, the concert, the music, so tight. You're energized. You're getting you're getting that vibe, and here's that, and it's so funny because with the Romantics, it gave me the backing of something like progressive, definitely progressive rock, even though it's more like pop rock, with their couple of pop tunes, but it was more progressive rock because the Romantics and Ramones, and it had that little thing with of the punk era with it. So it was absolutely amazing what they did. It was absolutely, you felt it, with it. Obviously, there was a mechanical issue on the drum set. Poor drum. Oh boy, that was funny. I started cracking up. I was like, oh, it's like sorry for that, And then they started playing. It was kind of tongue in cheek, and then they played their hits. Now, besides What I Like About You and Talking in Your Sleep, there was another song that I recalled, and I remember hearing that a couple times before, and it was the One in a Million, and I started singing One in a Million, and said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "Yeah, I remember this thing." So I did a little snippet of it. If you check it on my social media page, it was absolutely phenomenal. Oh, by the way, my radio crew was there. My radio brothers, sisters were there, across from the area. Now, obviously, I should have worn one of the two shirts. Go and take your pick. Maybe I should have done the PDA chat with the Viola shirt or vice versa. It was just a toss up. So I just went with the neutral, you know, um, red shirt from Woodstock, and then obviously the hat. And one of the personalities, he said, "Oh, you should have wore the other shirt and show your your true colors." So yeah, I told Captain Eddie, "You're right. I should have done it." And as a matter of fact, so lo and behold, like right before the show, before I jumped into the Romantics, here's Captain Eddie walking, right down walking down the hill, and it's all on video. And then he starts circling around. I was, so I heard somebody say, "Oh, hi, Eddie." I'm like, "Wait, that's Eddie?" Like, yeah, sure enough, he's doing this. And I kind of say, it's like, I shouted, "Yo, Eddie, Eddie, Captain." And it's, he just like, he let like that. And like, I knew it. So you're the best, buddy. You're the best. But there was other people that there was some close, mutuals were there. They said, "Oh, say you were there?" Like, yeah, I was in the middle of the, almost like in the middle of the field, going like close to pavilion. It was absolutely an amazing experience indeed. So the Romantics played, awesome set. Now, obviously, with the, in between with it, and then I'm starting taking pictures and just seeing the next set, which was Christopher Cross. Oh my goodness. Nailed it to the T. Um, Obviously, he did the Arthur's theme. Hey Laura, or Think of Laura. That's right, Think of Laura, which is, I love that song. And he, perfect. It was definitely, typical of like an AC top 40 kickback. You got to hear you got to hear the saxophone playing, a little bit of, the guitar playing, the piano. The singers were absolutely stunning. And then obviously everything came out of his amazing self-titled album, the Green Album with the, you know, with with the flamingo. And it was just an amazing set. Ride Like the Wind. Um, many of his hits were on there, but more like, Ride Like the Wind. Um, some other songs that escape me right now, but it was absolutely phenomenal. So it was like more, and it just felt like a Sunday morning jazz type of deal. You're in the park, you're in Bethel Woods, you're just kicking back, having it, like even like a mimosa or a cup of coffee, just or even having a glass or having water. It just seemed like a natural, relaxing, and one of wonderful ways of doing it. So the entire show in that segment was absolutely phenomenal. So with Chris doing that, we ended it. And then obviously the night belonged to Toto. Oh my goodness. Now, fun fact. I mean, I keep saying this, I'm online, on my on my social media pages, and I'm going to say this right now. Now, when I heard the prior song, "Hold the Line," you know, they're one of their major hits, which they did play. Okay, but here's the fun fact: when I started listening, really get into the rock and roll and everything else at the age of 15, 16, my very first birthday present were two cassettes. And one of them was Styx, Kilroy Was Here, from a mutual friend or from a friend, and Toto 4. Toto 4, man. Oh my goodness. And it was absolutely amazing, electrifying, you know, the drum solos. And actually there was like he had like a little no, they had like a little bit of stardom in there because one of the pieces that, the percussionist played originally with Steely Dan, which is absolutely phenomenal. It was absolutely, he was right on target, absolutely amazing. The hits were going on, obviously, again, with Hold the Line, Rosanna, Open Up with Rosanna, a couple other hits from Total 4, and obviously they wrapped it up tonight with Africa. And here's like Christopher Cross and the lead singer from the Romantics getting it all together with that jam session. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Christopher Cross had an encore again with Sailing. That's right. He did Sailing twice, and the encore was totally amazing. So, getting back to the third feature was absolutely amazing. It was so magical. Um, they really did an amazing job, and the riffs, the magic was there, and I said, now that's more my style. And obviously, I had water. I had one of my best friends there as well, and a couple bottles of water. I felt invigorated. I felt energized because when you're coming from an appointment from the doctors saying you had a decent appointment or something like that, there's always something that you can look forward to later on in the day. And that, my friends, it's definitely music therapy for me. I enjoyed the entire concert at Bethel Woods, and it was absolutely a powerhouse. It was absolutely amazing, you know. Now, um, I was listening to WVOS this morning, and he did mention, Eddie did mention about they could have played 99, but there was another rarity that we thought we were going to hear. Now, keep this in mind too. Here's a fun fact. Now, I'll get back to the track in a moment, but here's a fun fact. If anybody remembers the movie, the David Lynch version of Dune, with Kyle MacLachlan, Sting, Max von Sydow, um, Sean Young, the original watered down version of David Lynch's classic Dune. Well, the irony about that and the fun fact of it all, Toto wrote the score and performed the score for the movie. So how about that? But it was just an amazing with it you could hear the riffs, you could hear the power in what they did. Oh yeah, by the way, Sting was in there. Totally forgot. Sting was in the original, um, the watered down version of Dune. So it was absolutely a magical part. But now with the other song that was played at 9:45 this morning, I'm listening to it, and then I'm like listening to another couple of obscure hits that that I remember pretty well. But the other song at 9:45 this morning, and he did do this on a classic from he does it MTV on Mondays. He did a song. He played it called "Stranger in Town," and I said, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot." I mean, I thought they were going to do that. It was because it's an absolutely an amazing hit that they did. They scored well with it. I'm surprised they didn't do that one. Yet Stranger in Town should have been in that mix. Otherwise, I got to tell you, the band obviously knocked it out of the park, knocked it out of the definitely the Garden or Bethel Woods, and just that it was just an amazing night indeed. And I was blessed. And again, here's that music therapy coming in. I felt energized. I felt wonderful, and I felt a peace of mind right there. So, and again, I have to thank Anthony for that. Um, some of my friends, I wish I got to see you a little bit more. Um, with like Tigman, a couple of other people, Mel Ann, you know who you are. Obviously, I seen Captain Eddie there, so that's like that made my night. And then obviously my best friend um, came with me that night, and it's like I told, yeah, oh yeah. By the way, I know how to get there very quickly. That's all I know. Oh, and shout out to our really the men and women in gray, the New York State Police, Troop F. You guys are wonderful, and keep this in mind. I'm a son of a state police officer, which will be named nameless, and one of my best friends that we kind of call, I call her Speedy. Okay, long story with that, but it would just felt fantastic just to see her again. So hey, Speedy, glad I saw you the other night, and I'm glad you guys are there. So I thank you. I thank the New York State Police for a phenomenal job, and really, the shout out would actually go with the volunteers behind the scenes, Janet, to John, to mostly everyone that participated, even up in the area, Jessica, Mardette. You guys are really the rock stars behind it, and for a music fan like me, stage manager, by the way, keep that in mind. Stage manager, DJ, everything else, keep that in mind. You guys did an awesome job, and you got the awesome staff. I mean, this is even Glenn. Love you, Glenn. I really appreciate you for pushing it and just making things happen. So yeah, it was an amazing night, Wednesday night at Bethel Woods, at Bethel Woods Performing Arts Center. And one of these days I gotta really have to coordinate it because I've been into the museum before, and I'll go in that museum all the time. I think it's just an amazing piece of history. You know, Obviously I've seen two shows in the event gallery. Earlier this March with Led Zeppelin. Keep that in mind, and Zebra. So we'll leave that at that. But again, amazing show this past Wednesday. Keep it up, and I'm glad everybody had a great time. So at this point, I'm going to say my farewells for now. And again, a huge thanks to everybody that's been following me, been inspiration, and keep this in mind. The power of music's in with all of you. It heals, it gets you through, and it shines right on. And shine on. And always remember, for that artist that wants to be on that big stage, keep your feet on the ground, yet keep reaching for the stars. Okay? With a lot of peace, love, music, this is Chuck Martin from CGM3 Productions. Have a great one, and we will see you later on.